What truly drives you? Is it money, praise, fear of failure, or something much deeper, something invisible, but far more powerful? For years, we've been told that rewards and punishments are what make people work harder. But what if that's completely wrong? Welcome to Drive, the book that flips everything you thought you knew about motivation upside down. By the end of this video, you'll understand why traditional motivation fails, what truly inspires lasting effort, and how to unlock your inner drive for success, creativity, and happiness. Let's begin. The myth of motivation. Let's travel back to the early days of human society. Back then, motivation was simple: survive, find food, avoid danger, reproduce. This was what Daniel Pink calls Motivation 1.0, the biological drive. Then came civilization, jobs, and industries. We built factories, offices, and systems, and with that came Motivation 2.0, the carrot and stick system. Do this task, get a reward. Fail, get punished. Sounds logical, right? That's how schools, companies, and even parenting have worked for decades. But here's the twist: it doesn't actually work anymore. Research shows that when you use rewards to push people, they perform well on simple tasks, but when creativity or deep thinking is required, performance drops sharply. So why does that happen? Because rewards narrow focus, and creativity demands open thinking. Daniel Pink says there's a mismatch between what science knows and what business does. We still use 20th century methods to motivate 21st century minds. Let's look at the experiments that changed everything. In one study, scientists gave two groups of people puzzles. Group A got a cash reward for solving them. Group B got nothing, just the joy of doing it. Guess what happened? Group A worked faster at first, but quickly lost interest. Group B stayed engaged longer, even after the experiment ended. Why? Because of something called intrinsic motivation, the inner desire to do something for its own sake. Think of musicians who play for hours not for fame, but for love of the sound, or gamers who grind for hours not for money, but for mastery. When we do things because we want to, not because we have to, we enter a psychological state of deep engagement, often called flow. And Drive teaches us how to design our lives to stay in that flow. So what's the new way to think about motivation? Pink calls it Motivation 3.0, based on three pillars: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Let's break these down one by one. Autonomy, the freedom to choose. Humans crave control. We want to decide how we work, when we work, and what we work on. That's autonomy. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how people who work for themselves often work harder than employees? Not because they're forced to, but because the work feels like theirs. Pink shows how companies like Google and Atlassian give employees 20% time, a day each week to work on anything they want. Guess what projects were born from that? Gmail, Google News, and Post-it notes. Autonomy sparks innovation. So if you want lasting motivation, stop asking, how do I make myself do this? Instead, ask, how can I make this mine? Mastery, the desire to improve. Next comes mastery, our urge to get better at something that matters. Think of an athlete practicing day after day, a gamer trying to beat their personal best, or a musician refining every note. We feel alive when we grow. But here's the secret. Mastery is not about perfection, it's about progress. Pink explains three truths about mastery. 1. It's a mindset. You have to believe your abilities can grow. 2. It's pain. Improvement requires struggle. And 3. It's asymptotic. You can never truly reach it, but you keep chasing it. So if you want to feel motivated, don't chase the finish line. Fall in love with the process. That's the secret athletes, creators, and entrepreneurs already know. Purpose, the why behind the work. Money can motivate for a moment. Autonomy can spark passion. Mastery can keep you learning. But purpose gives meaning to it all. Purpose is what makes you wake up even when it's hard. It's what turns effort into legacy. Companies like Patagonia, Tesla, or Apple don't just sell products, they sell missions. Their people don't say, "I work for a company." They say, "I'm changing the world." Ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? If your answer connects to something bigger than yourself, you'll never run out of motivation, because purpose is fuel that never fades. Now that we understand autonomy, mastery, and purpose, how do we bring them into our lives? Here's how. 1. Redesign your day for autonomy. Give yourself choice. Work on your own schedule, even for a few hours. Control builds motivation. 2. Set mastery goals. Not, "I'll finish this project," but "I'll improve my skill by 10%. Progress creates pride. And 3. Connect everything to a purpose. If your job feels meaningless, find the purpose behind the task. Maybe you're helping someone, creating value, or building something that lasts. Every small task has meaning if you decide it does. Real-life examples. Let's bring this to life with a few stories. When Atlassian gave employees creative freedom, they built new tools that changed their entire company. When teachers stopped using gold stars and started giving kids choices, grades and happiness improved. When volunteers at Wikipedia built something without pay, they created one of the biggest knowledge bases on Earth, all without external rewards. It's proof that the best work comes from within. So here's the big question. Are you running on old motivation or new? If you're tired of feeling unmotivated, stop chasing carrots. Instead, build a life around autonomy, mastery, and purpose. When you control your work, improve every day, and connect to something bigger, motivation stops being a problem. It becomes your nature. Because in the end, the ultimate drive isn't to be rewarded, it's to be fulfilled.